Almost two-thirds of Afghans are younger than 25, and many of them voted for the first time Saturday. CCTV correspondent Sean Callebs joins us from Kabul. And Sean, give us an idea of their role in Afghanistan, if you will.
Yeah, it really bears repeating. Two-thirds, more than 60% of the population here under the age of 25. That is significant. And these are people who have managed to remain optimistic despite sky-high unemployment rate and despite a corrupt government that has been blamed for holding this country back.
We've all said it. At the end of the day, kids are kids, no matter where you are. But children in Afghanistan are growing up amid violence, political uncertainty, and a government tainted by corruption.
The youth of Afghanistan, they had a lot of difficulties in this country.
And many have to grow up fast, abandoning school to help feed the family, perpetuating a circle of poverty and illiteracy.
I have to support my family, so will I have the time to think about my country, to do something? No, because at first I have to feed my stomach.
In many ways, this is a very young country, a democracy little more than a decade old, and the median age is only 18. That leaves legions of young Afghans who have visions of breaking the cycle of war, violence, and corruption.
There is so much going on other than the war here. We have got a very active and energetic and dynamic group of people in this country.
Ilyas Alami means young people. He runs an organization called Afghan New Generation. More than two-thirds of the people in Afghanistan are under the age of 25. Alami and his group have their fingers in all media: journalism, filmmaking, social media. Look at this weekend's historic vote. The country's young, waiting in long lines to do something that could get them killed.
Do you get a sense of satisfaction standing up to insurgents?
Of course.
Exactly.
Jamshidi and Takmani Amanzi and others in Afghan New Generation are well-educated, bright, and speak several languages, exactly the kind of people who could leave here for an easier life.
In my opinion, if the youths of a country left the country, then there won't be any good future for that country.
They are all realistic, growing up in a post-conflict nation. Threats, attacks, and death are simply a part of daily life, and a tall order for youth to conquer.
Many young Afghans grew up in an environment far different from their parents. They weren't held down by a hardline government. They have enjoyed more freedoms politically and socially. And many young Afghans are demanding of it. Mike?
With the election still fresh in everyone's mind, it'd be interesting to note, if you can tell us, was there a candidate that resonated with them? Is any idea who they supported?
It's interesting because many of the three major candidates, their platforms really weren't terribly different. Their personalities are. And a lot of people gravitated toward Ashraf Ghani, perhaps because he is someone coming from the outside. He's talking about the economy. He's talking about revitalizing this country. He's not focusing on war, the Taliban, the things that have held this country back for so long. And a lot of people really want to hear that. Also, Ghani apparently has said that he would put perhaps as many as 50 to 75 young people in the new government. And of course, that is certainly going to attract them.
Sean, one final question, more broadly speaking. Give us a sense, if you will, a scene setter prior to the election, after the election. I know it was tense leading up to the election. Kind of give us a broad stroke of what it looked like before and what it's like now.
It's tremendously different. Leading up to the election, it was very tense. There were a series of attacks right here in Kabul, firstly, then in the province of Khost as well. The attacks here, we were actually a couple of blocks away from one, and we were getting ready to sit down, talk to a handful of 25-year-olds about a story. The blast went off. It shook the entire building. Andrew Smith, our photographer, and I, our eyes popped out of our head. The young people, their eyes didn't even flinch. They just sat there. They're so used to this. But that's not to say that they weren't tense. They warned us repeatedly that this is a different Afghanistan than the last time I was here 2 years ago, much more dangerous. And then 2 days before the election, Thursday and Friday, the streets were basically vacant. The government had told people to stay inside, and they basically did. On Saturday, though, it was just a celebration. The conditions were horrible weather-wise. It was rain, it was cold, it was even hail at times, but still people waited more than an hour in queues to vote. And at the end of the day, once that got through and it was so successful, it was almost like a celebratory mood in the coming days. And now the city's back to normal. Traffic is bumper to bumper. People are walking in front of cars. They're doing their shopping. It's as though it never happened.
Fascinating. Sean Callebs joining us from Kabul. Thanks so much.